It's 7:30.
It's your love song. Up to the sky. Because of the goodness, it makes me wanna stop. Makes me clap my hands. Stop.
I don't know if y'all can hear that music, but we trying to get y'all to come on in here
You
and
got the
enjoy.
victory.
Okay,
Oh,
we about
you
to
got the
start this thing
victory.
off. We about to stomp tonight. All
Yeah.
righty, all righty.
God's people, are you with us?
Guys, people, are you with us? I don't know if y'all can hear that music, but it's got me pumped. It's got me ready. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to turn that music down just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Think Outside the Red Box. We're here every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So thank you for tuning in. And as always, we love to have these conversations. And so we're hoping that you enjoy what we have for you tonight because our topic, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? So, what you gonna do when you got to deal with someone who is emotionally unhealthy? That's what we're going to talk
Ooh.
about today. So that is a very, 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 very popular question I have been getting very early on from a lot of different people that I have worked with over the last year. And it's, what do I do? How do I handle um, people who are emotionally unhealthy? And the real thing is, what do I do when I can't get away from them? Okay. So it's easy to say when you're dealing with someone who's unhealthy that and you're in toxic relationships or and when I say relationships, I'm not necessarily talking about male female. We could talk friendships and things of that nature. And it's easy to say just cut them off, let them go, right? And so, but what you gonna do? Hey, Anitra, what you gonna do?
Hey,
Huh?
Anitra.
What you gonna do when you can't get away from that person? Because the person that is hurting you, the person who is causing you pain, is a parent. It's a sibling. It's a child. It's a spouse. It's a coworker. What you gonna do? So that's what we're gonna talk about tonight. So my co-host, my fearless co-host, Dion Coates. I don't
Peace.
know if
How's
you know.
everybody doing?
All right, and so we're gonna kick this off here. So I wrote a little something something down, right? And the thing about it is, this kind of stems from the Facebook Live we had on Saturday on divorce. We were talking about being broken and two broken people coming together and how somebody has to get whole. And the thing is that you can go into a marriage and maybe one of those people are whole, but now you done married a broken person, or maybe y'all were both broken and one got whole, right? But now you've got to deal with their unhealthiness. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So now let's just talk about let me set this up a little bit, and then I'm going to let Dion speak. So you put in the work, right? Let's just say you put in the work and you've healed and you've strengthened your core, and then becoming a being, your core is the core of the core of your being. It's your spiritual, your emotional, and your mental are all it's solid, it's strong, and it cannot be permeated, right? We have healed, we have aligned our emotions, our mental, and our spiritual so that they're working together, they're integrated and aligned with God. That's your core. Your core is your spiritual, your mental, and your um, emotional. And if you come to one of my classes, you'll learn more about that. So now you've done your healing and you strengthen your core. And the question becomes, how do you sustain that? Right? How do you sustain? How do you keep that mental and emotional sobriety, right? And stability once you've gotten whole. One thing is that you gotta you can't stop pursuing. Whatever you were doing in hot pursuit to get there, you need to stay there, right? You need to keep seeking God. You need to keep pushing forward. You need to keep doing some things. You need to never stop learning, right? Because when you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you die, right? When plants stop growing, what do? They die. So you can't stop learning, and you can never stop putting your knowledge into practice. So when you're healed, you have learned some skills, and you have gained some knowledge, and you have acquired some tools that you are supposed to use. But if you don't use those things as in learning, because I teach learning at work, you lose it, right? You get a little rusty. And so then when it's time for you to use it, you kind of forget about how to do it. So those communication skills you learn, those conflict resolution skills that you learn, how to approach people differently, you got to put those things into practice, and you got to keep on practicing those things so you don't forget it. So now you've done all this, right? You don't want to put it up on the shelf. I did that. I did that before. Went through the healing process. I'm feeling all good, and I thought that was the end all be all, and I put it all up on the shelf. Dion's a witness. She had to pray me out that thing, right? Dion
Whew,
is a
Jesus.
witness.
Help
I stopped.
today.
And
Help
all those things
today.
I'm telling you, I stopped learning. I stopped using the skill. And then when it was time to use it, I was a mess. And I had to go back through the process. So never stop, right? You don't want to go through the process. But now you're healed, whether it was it, and now you got to deal with someone who's not healed. What you gonna do? Go ahead, Dion. What you got to
Yeah,
say?
that's the big thing right there is one person being healed and the other one not so much. And it requires something. It's going to cost you something. So I said last week, and I'll say again, we need God. Because especially in times like those, when you have one person that's trying to logically or spiritually think outside of the box, outside of that red box that we were talking about. And then you have one person that is still trying to deal with their emotions and still trying to deal with their hurts, and they're still dumping it on you. It's so funny that you say that. Apostle Benny said something, and I'm going to preface it the way that he did because I'm not cursing, but I am going to use that word that he used, which was a damn. And I had to look that up because Apostle Benny was driving up and down my street, and I'm like, dude, you don't know you fixing to come into my household, okay? Because if you
I think everybody felt like that yesterday.
oh
I
my
know
God,
I was like, you need to get out my house, okay?
girl, he was on my street, and I'm like, no, he not fixing to talk about damn, because we can allow those, even being emotionally healed, we can allow ourselves to continue to stay damned up if we're not continuously reading the word, continuously praying, and continuously listening to spiritual things that create a different thought pattern for us. God's
We can
word
get
means
stagnant.
something. Oh, we absolutely. And you talked about putting things on the shelf. We start thinking because God talking to us every now and then, we've arrived. When in fact, He created us to talk to us more than one or two times, but we have to get that revelation. And sometimes we don't get it. But I looked up the word dam, and very interesting. It says it's a barrier. It's constructed to hold back water, and it helps with water levels, forming a reservoir. It can generate electricity, an electricity supply. I was kind of like, that's interesting that water can create or start electricity. Now we know when somebody says something to us and it goes through us, it's like electricity, honey. And electricity got to come out. So
Yep.
the hope is when it comes out, because it goes in one way and it got to come out another way, right? And a lot of times it leaves a gaping hole and scars. So we have to learn what to do with those gaping holes and scars and not allow them to fester and become more than what they are, so that that electricity can pass through and not leave any residue. And that's the thing right there. We have to learn how to not allow the residue to stay and to create bitterness once you're trying to get healed. Because while that other person is being healed, they might not know no better. They used to the lies that they're telling themselves and continue to tell themselves. So what do? They lean on what they're accustomed to leaning on, just like you did.
Yep.
So I love that, Apostle Benny. If you're listening, thank you for sharing that word, because you had come up in my house at one point, and I was like, "Oh no, I got to get Apostle Benny out of my house, because some of that stuff you revert back to if you're not careful."
Yep. And that's why we got to keep up. That's why we got to keep pursuing. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep learning. We can't stop moving. We can't stop growing. We can't stop going from level to level,
That's right.
because then we'll create a dam, right?
That's right.
And we'll get stagnant.
That's right.
So,
That's why unbecoming is so pertinent in what we do and what we talk about when we talk about becoming to being. That's unbecoming is so important, because if not, we'll continue to lean to our old ways of doing things. See, we don't realize that God constructed us in a type of way to hear from Him, and He fashioned us in a way so that we can be productive. But a lot of times, because we tell ourselves the lies and then we try to live the lies out, we have to unbecome all of that stuff our family members and told us, our friends and told us, our co-workers and told us, our bosses, even our children sometimes, because sometimes we leave them with some things or not good taste in their mouths, and then they come and bring that back as an adult, and you'll be like, oh my God, I got to now got to deal with that. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
so I'd like to point out though, and I know I've said this before, um, to my book club. Once you are emotionally healthy, or you're on that road of becoming emotionally healthy, you will find yourself easily identifying people who are not
Hmm.
emotionally healthy, right? You will
Hmm.
begin to see it more prevalent, because you're coming out of that kind of mindset, that state of being, or out of that mental environment. And so now you will be able to begin to see that in other people. And so you have to
Hmm.
take note. And so what are you going to do? What you going to do? What you going
Hmm.
to do, boo? You're going to have to remove yourself, right, from that environment. Because if you stay in that environment, or if you keep hanging around those people, then you will, it'll enable you and nurture you to go back to the old way. All right. And so you have to be willing to, if you want to stay whole, if you want to keep your mental emotional sobriety, you have to sometimes change your environment. And environment doesn't not mean physically removing yourself, but it means changing the people around you. So we have a comment, Dion. I don't know if it's a comment or question. It says,
Yeah, I see it.
"Wholeness- your wholeness act, uh, um, I'm sorry, your wholeness act is light, and people are drawn to your light as long as your light doesn't get dim." Yes, yes. So
Thank you, Larry, for bringing that out.
as the Dion likes to say, you produce who you
You
are. So
produce who you are.
when
You
you come
produce who
home,
you
you have
are.
a light. You attract I'm stuttering over myself, but like-minded people like attract each other, right? So if you're whole and you're light, you kind of start to draw those kind of people. But you do have to be cautious of the bottom feeders. I'll call them bottom feeders.
Uh-oh, you're talking about catfish now.
Who want to use up your light, right? It's just usury. They just the enemy is trying to use them to bring you down. You got to be careful with that. So you want to set boundaries, but we're here to talk about when you can set boundaries, but you can't get away from this person. You can't change your environment. You can't change the people around you, because the person who is causing you pain might be your mother or your father, or it might be your husband, or it might even be your children, right? So what you gonna do? So we have some strategies that we want to talk about. I don't know if we'll get to all of the strategies, but we want to talk about a few strategies that you can put into place, in order to, um, sorry, I didn't mean to leave that up. Um, that you can put into place in order to, make it work and keep your mental and emotional sobriety when dealing with someone who is emotionally healthy, right? So the first strategy is counseling. Seek counseling. All right. Get a neutral person to come in and mediate between you and the issues that you and the other person are having. And you want someone who's going to be neutral. You want someone who's wise and knowledgeable. So you need to seek wise counsel. Yeah. What do you want to say about that?
And yeah, and I was just going to say for Christians, you might want to seek out some Christian counseling. Don't do your friends or, or anything like that, because sometimes friends have a tendency to be impartial, especially if they've been friendlier with one of the members in a marriage than the others, or even as friendships, because even friendships need counseling sometimes. Sometimes we just need to learn how to get along. We haven't learned how to get along with your family members, your mom, your dad. Things has happened in the past, and hurts have happened in the past, and maybe you need to go to counseling with your siblings or even your children. So don't be afraid to go to counseling with whoever you need to. And just because you go to counseling, that's not a curse. It's actually a benefit to your life. So take advantage of it. Most insurances pay for it, and as African Americans, we don't take advantage of it because we're so used to dealing with the hurt and moving on, or not dealing with the hurt and moving on. And then one day we explode, and then we got an injury, and then we have something else that we have to fix. And a lot of times fixing it and going back is not always easy. It's just, oh, that's just him or that's just her. It's not always that easy. Sometimes good relationships are lost as a result of it. I heard this one preacher said one time about marriages. He says that if you don't deal with the hurts, what happened is you foul out and you wind up sitting on the sideline. And when you're sitting on the sidelines, guess what? That means that could be a divorce or a separation or whatever. And here come his replacement. And guess what? His replacement had got your job. So you might be in trouble. So you might want to just be careful that your replacement don't take over. So I really like the way he shared that. It was like, oh, so better just be careful that we doing the right thing at all times. Seek
So
the
before
counseling. It's okay.
I want to piggyback on something you said. I just want to throw this little tidbit out there because employers have what they call employee assistance programs, EAP. So if you're working for a really large company, corporate America, they usually offer these services. And so you get counseling. And like I could tell you for my employer, it's free. Everyone through EAP is free, and you get up to like 6 sessions per issue. Okay, so take advantage of that. That those are the things that's here for us. Okay, so the second strategy is pray. I know some people I don't may not even want to hear that, but listen, you got to pray, and you can't cease from praying before, during, and after. Before the change, during the change, after the change. We cannot cease from praying. We got to take that thing to God and then we got to leave it there. Sometimes we want to take it to Him and then we still want to try to fix it. And that's where the problem is happening is we trying to fix things. We're trying to do things in our own strength when we just need to like leave it up to God. I'm going to be transparent in this moment. My family don't get mad. So to protect the innocent, I was having a problem with one of my children. I have three. I was having a problem with one of my children. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Right? This is just not working. And someone told me that I heard God tell me He was gonna take care of it. I got this. But here it was, I still was trying to get it. I'm still trying to fix it. I'm still trying to handle it. And he keeps telling me, I got this. So then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm the parent. What am I supposed to do? Right? I mean, I'm just supposed to let him run wild. I'm supposed to let him act crazy. No, I'm supposed to still parent. I'm supposed to still put the structure in place, and I'm supposed to still discipline when they get out of hand. But some things at the same time, I have to still let them be them. I have to let them grow into themselves. And as the apostle said one time, they're working on their testimony. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn to do the things as a parent that I'm supposed to do, but at the same time, learn to extend some mercy, right? I took it to God, but I didn't want to leave it with God. I had to learn to be unbothered. That's one of those unbothered things right there. I had to learn to be unbothered and patient and let God work that thing out. And he's been working that thing out. So that is number 2. You want to say anything before I go on to number 3, Dion?
Yeah, I was just wanted to just say that it's important too that we allow our faith to work for us. A lot of times when we pray to God, we don't pray in faith. We just say this little quick prayer and like, okay, God, now you do it. I done made a mess of it. Now you clean it up. Now you fix it. It's so foolish to think that God is just going to come in and swoop it all up and make it all great for us after we have messed it up. Not that He won't do that, but it's just foolish for us to have that mindset. One translation, we talk about the mustard seed, but if you don't know what a mustard seed look like, everybody knows what a poppy seed look like. One translation said you should have faith as a poppy seed. So therefore, if that's all the faith that we need when we pray, apply just that poppy seed of faith to what you're praying about, and it'll help you with those areas where you keep on giving it to God and taking it back, and you give it to God and take it back. You don't leave any room for Him to do anything. So I just wanted to add that.
Mhm. Number 3, me time. You got to have some me time, some alone time to think, to meditate, to de stress. And so, whatever that me time is, you have got to have some time away from the situation, from the environment, from the person, so you can get your head together so you don't lose your mind. And so, whatever that me time has to be, you got to take that me time. Now, I'll tell you that I've always been in touch when I know that something is just, my attitude is on 20. And if you say just the one wrong thing to me, it's probably going to just set me off. Um, I hate to say it due to female hormones, but when that would happen, I already knew I'm not going to no party. I'm not going to no get together. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to go get my favorite food, my French fries, and me some Penn Station sandwich, and go get me a nice movie. And I'm going to sit up there on the couch with my lemonade and my blanket, and I'm going to have me a little some good me time. Don't bother me. Leave me alone. Let me think. Let me get my head together. Let God talk to me and tell me you need to stop acting like that. But don't come for me till God has come for me. Okay? Me time. We need it, y'all. We need it to de stress. Any thoughts,
I,
Dion?
I agree. You couldn't have said it any better. You know, go get your feet done, go get your nails done, get a massage, do something, anything to wind down. Because sometimes you have to take yourself out of the situation, especially if the people that have unhealthy behavior live in the household with you. So, and I'm not saying go to the store and spend a whole lot of money because I've been guilty of that. Sometimes if I get stressed out, if they make me upset, I'll just go to the store and spend some money. And that's the craziest thing you do. You do yourself a disservice that way because then now you got to go take it all back because now you got guilt because you didn't spend money that you shouldn't have spent or you needed it for something else. So just be careful about the what you do on your me time, that it's not going to cause you any more harm than you already that's already being inflicted sometimes. So but take the time, and if, maybe it's just a drive, you need a drive, or me, I'm the type of person, I need to go find me a corner, me and God, and praise and talk about it or worship or whatever, and just to kind of de-stress first, and then before I leave, because what you don't want to do is leave mad. Because if you leave mad or upset, then you'll do something foolish like go spend $200 on an iPad that, or $300 on an iPad, and you're like, oh my God, I should have paid something else with that money, but I'm gonna open the box so I don't have to take it back. That's just foolishness. but we do
Right.
it.
Yep.
So just make sure your me time is sensible me time, and it's not, oh, this is gonna be my opportunity to get them back. So go spend some money.
All right, number four is conflict resolution. We have to find different approaches to resolving conflict because whatever you've been doing with this unhealthy person is not working, right? Because it's still causing friction, it's still causing problems. So we've got to find a different way to resolve conflict. We've got to come up with a different approach. Even if that approach just means I'm not going to argue with you, I'm just going to sit and listen, let you get it out, let you say whatever you need to say. Even if that means I gotta just walk away. That's part of setting a boundary within the context of dealing with an unemotional person is just to walk away. You don't have to subject yourself to that. Listen, I'm just gonna leave you here, let you calm down, and then we can talk when you've calmed down. And then leave. Don't leave without saying something though, because that's just going to cause more problems. So we've got to be healthy in the way we're responding by speaking to say, okay, um, I'm going to talk to you later until you've calmed down and we can have another conversation, right? Or when they're talking, they're yelling. That doesn't mean you have to yell. You stay calm about the matter. Don't try to overtalk them. Let them speak. Let them get it out. We've got to come up with some different approaches, and that leads me to the next approach, which is diffusing. I'm trying to type this in as I'm saying it. Escalated situations. Okay. Diffusing escalated situations. And that means using healthy emotional responses, communicating effectively, using words that will defuse and escalate the situation. They're on 10. You don't need to go on 10. We need to sit, listen, and find some words to maybe calm the person down, maybe get them to settle down in their being. Your thoughts, Dion?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you're dealing with a spouse, sometimes it's always wise to have an agreement that if things are getting heated or if they're heavy, that we say, okay, listen, I can't do this with you right now. I just need to walk away and we need to come back and revisit. But let them know that they're going to come back and revisit it at a later time. Because just because you're diffusing an issue doesn't mean that we don't need to deal with the issue. Because sometimes when you say things, you cause injury to happen. And when injuries happen, what happens? We either go to the hospital if we break a leg and we get the leg fixed. So if there are words that's been said that cause injury, then we have to come back and fix that and make that work for us. I heard this, and it may have been Apostle Benny one time. He said that when you're hurting, sometimes your perception is off balance. You perceive things about that person that maybe you shouldn't ought to perceive. So then you start saying things like, well, this is what you always do. And I may have only done that thing one time. So the person that's healthy, you have to learn how not to take that on and carry that because we'll carry it and keep on carrying it and keep on carrying it. So when you're learning how to diffuse, you have to learn how to diffuse and then dump it, not allow it to get into your psyche, to continue to have emotional baggage to carry along with it and deal with it. Deal with the injury. It's important.
Yes. Now I have three more, and I know we're almost at time, but if y'all just bear with me, I'm going to go through these last three. Number six. Okay. Love them through the transition. This is
Mm,
something
mm,
that has
mm, mm.
come up in our previous Facebook lives, but um, somebody loved you through your transition. We weren't all whole. We've all had some trials that we've had to go through. We've all had some healing that we've had to go through. We've all been through some times where we were not emotionally healthy, and we went through our process. We went through our process of healing and coming into our being. In the same way someone showed you mercy, in the same way someone showed you love, you need to show that as well. And so that's going to mean that you're going to have a little bit of understanding. This is where your core, your spiritual, mental, and emotional has to be strong and aligned with God. Because when you are aligned with God and you are walking in his image that he has created you in, then you are going to be doing the things and responding in the way that God would respond. God is merciful, God is forgiving, right? So we need to, he's God is understanding and he's intentional. He's all these good things. And so, therefore, if you're healed and you're whole, then we need to be the same things that someone displayed to you and God displayed to you when you was acting up, you need to display as well. Thoughts, Dion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, God's love is endless. And we need to practice God's love. Think about it, if God had charged us for everything that we've done. Yeah, and I want to make reference to Apostle Benny Fluellen, because when we talk about our apostle, that's who we're talking about. Apostle Benny Fluellen. He talks about God being love and how we should show love and how we should show mercy. And I thought about Calvary. Had God not loved us enough to go to Calvary, some of us would be in a mess. Apostle Benny talks about that a lot, about how selfless it was for him to go on Calvary and die for everything. So just think about if he didn't let him spit on him or, you know, kill him, bruise him, hurt him, do all those things, and he didn't have the opportunity to feel those things for us, then it would stand to reason why we couldn't extend it. But because he did it for us, we should do it for others. So just remember that next time when you say, oh, I'm not going to talk to them or I'm done with them or whatever. Remember God's love and how he extends it to us daily. Some of us should probably be dead because of some of the things that we've done. And if he took retribution out on us, we would be in trouble. But
Right.
I thank him for his love. So, yeah.
Don't forget the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors.
Yes,
All right, number
absolutely.
7, cultivate the land. Go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
Dr.
Mm.
Dion. Cultivate the
Yeah, I was thinking about cultivating today, and it came to me about cultivating the land, that you have to prepare land for crop. Sometimes we are not, we're so busy um trying to fix things, and because sometimes as women we are fixers too. As African American women, we really fixers. Apostle Benny said something yesterday about stop doing so much stuff and let your husbands fix the houses and do everything, just let it all fall apart. And I'm thinking, yeah, if we do that, then some of us will probably be living in like rats. That was hard for me to swallow, Apostle. So we might have to talk about that one a little bit. Like I told you, you was coming up and down my lane yesterday, and you was all up in my house. But in cultivating the land, you have to go in and dig up some stuff. You have to, these are terminologies when you cultivate for farmers. Farmers till the land, they dig up weeds and stuff that doesn't belong there, and they turn the land so that they can work it, so that they can plant seeds. And that's
Mhm.
what we need to be doing. Need to be cultivating the land. We need to be digging up some stuff, your attitude.
Mhm.
The way the my husband tells me sometimes, yeah, that tone. Sometimes we have a tone in our voice when we're trying to get something across, and we want you to know that I'm not liking that, or I'm just pissed off. So I need to let you know with my tone how I am. So sometimes we have to dig up some of those things and cultivate those some of those things so that when we go and plant seeds, that we can plant good seeds and plant them in good ground because we've done some cultivating. A lot of times we don't understand what cultivating is. So then we bystep that process, not realizing that when we're being emotionally healed, that there's some things that God is still dealing with us on and with, that we still have to weed some of those things out. And I know it's going to hurt and it's going to require us to take a good look in the mirror and look back maybe some and see some of those areas, because we can get the big head when we think, oh, God dealing with me, I'm praying, he talking, we me and God, me and God, me and God. But you have to remember that even though God is talking to you, He's still requiring you to go back and fix some of that junk that you left
Mhm.
untended. Sometimes
Mhm.
we let weeds and some, wild grass grow that doesn't need to grow there. We need to go and pluck some of that stuff up so that our land can stay cultivated, so that we can have the best results and so that the best crop can come from those results.
Exactly. So that's why you got to keep pushing, keep pursuing, don't stop learning, all those things that I talked about earlier. So you have to nurture the relationship. And so while you may be whole, that doesn't mean that you don't have flaws. We talked about that on Saturday. I thought that was a really good point that Pastor Dolores put in the chat, that, you can be whole and have flaws. And so you can be whole and you can have the tools and you can be working on the tools, but that doesn't mean that you don't have flaws that you still don't need to work on. And so you need to not only nurture yourself but nurture the other person. And that brings me to actually the last one, and then we're going to let you all go. Is because if you're nurturing the relationship, then what you're going to do is you're going to give them a different experience. Okay, we got to give them a different experience. They are unhealthy based upon where they came from. And they could have picked up these things from the family, the upbringing, the educational system that they were in, the neighborhood they were in, their culture, so just society in general. The church environment. It's just no telling where they picked up some of this dysfunction from, right? And some things have been painful things that they've experienced, and some things were just from being in the environment. um, and they have to be given a different experience in order to see that there's a better way. Otherwise, it's their norm, and you don't want to change your norm. It's the norm, and what we don't understand sometimes is our just because it's our norm doesn't make it right. Right? So we have to show them something different through our words, through our actions, through how we're showing up in the relationship, how we're responding to them. So, we've given you 8 strategies. They're kind of overlapping here. But when you nurture that relationship, then you're going to be giving them a different experience. When you're speaking to them differently, it's giving them a different experience. When you're extending that mercy and that understanding, when you're talking calmly, when you're using your effective communication skills, you're giving them something different than what they're used to getting. And see, unhealthy people expect to get what they've always gotten. And so they do things. We talked about this, I don't know, last week, a couple weeks ago, self sabotaging behavior. We do things that are self sabotaging because we are expecting the worst. So we do things to self fulfill that prophecy that that's what's going to happen. So we do these self sabotaging behaviors, and we do the self fulfilling prophecies that it's going to go this way. That's what I expect. So I'm going to act in a manner to get what I think is already going to happen. And we got to be willing to fight against that thing and give them something different. So extend some love and mercy, because love and mercy was extended to you. So those are our 8 strategies. There's probably more. Um, if you have more, drop them in the chat. If you've been watching, hit that share button. Share this, because I like to share the knowledge, and as many people as we can get in front of to help them, then the better off we're going to be in our being. So please share this post. Dion, any closing statements or words you want to give the people before we end this?
Absolutely. I want you to know that the Bible is a living organism. And if you read your Bible, you'll understand what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. That's what it's there for. So we can extend mercy, the grace, and so forth. We can allow peace to resonate in our homes. And remember, we teach who we are. And stop damming your dam so that you can be
Mhm.
free, so that the water can flow, and so that the electricity doesn't continue to flow. Remember, people's perception of you doesn't have to always be a negative one. It can be a positive one because you give them something different. So teach something different. That's it.
That's it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're here every Monday night at 7:30.
Peace.
Yep, we're here to encourage, inspire, motivate you into your purpose. We're here to push you, pull you, whatever we got to do for you to become, to go from existing to being, so that you can walk in your purpose. So, see you next time. Be unbothered.
Peace.